So what we're going to do is we're going to work on what's going to be the background first. And what you're going to want is you're going to want this sky picture on the very top and this castle picture just right underneath it. So all the other pictures are going to sit behind these two pictures. Okay, so you see all my pictures. We'll rearrange them later, but for now, let's go ahead and slap all those pictures so that everything is underneath this big castle mansion and underneath this sky here. Okay? So we have this guy so we can fill in the top of our poster. So the bottom of your image should be this house. This maybe it's a castle. I don't know. Let's call it a house. We're going to throw this house so it's all the way on the bottom, and you want to fill in all that space on the bottom. Cover the whole bottom of your picture with this house. So blow it up however big it needs to be so that it's covering this bottom half. So we're going to have to tweak this a little bit so that it blends a little more seamlessly with the sky that's already there behind the house. So probably what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rotate this picture because this side of it, the left side, is darker than the other side or what we have on the bottom. So I'm going to rotate it because it's going to help to line up a little better with the sky that's already there. So hit Control T, make sure you're on the right layer. When you do that, Control T, and I'm just going to swivel this around to a 90-degree angle. And then I'm going to stretch it out so it covers the rest of that space. So already it goes pretty well, except at the very top of this house picture, it's a little bit darker. So I think what we'll do is some dodging and we'll do some burning so that we get a smoother shift from the between the skies. Okay. Okay, so I think what we'll do, while I'm still on the sky level, I'm going to grab my burning tool. Okay, so if you don't see it, it's probably under the dodge tool. Looks like a lollipop tilted to the side. So the burn tool looks like a hand going like this, making a little circle. Okay, let's grab that burning tool. Okay, so we'll probably need to adjust the size and the hardness. I'm going to set my hardness to 0, and I'm going to blow up the size of this burning tool to like 500 maybe. So if your picture is 8.5 by 11, that's probably a good size for you. We're not going to color the whole picture. We're going to come along the bottom part of the sky here, and we're going to just scribble over the top of it. We're going to burn the bottom of this sky so that it matches a little more closely to this transition between the house and this picture. So over here on the left side, it works pretty well. Over here on the right side, the sky on the bottom half is a little bit darker, so we're probably going to have to do a little bit of dodging. But just with that burning here, I got a pretty smooth shift in the sky here, so it doesn't look like there's such a hard line there. So a little burning over here on this side. Okay, so you don't necessarily need to burn the whole sky, and keep it moving. If you isolate it too much in one area, you're going to have like a black spot, so we want it to be a little more subtle. So let's move it around, click and hold, burn a little bit darker. And then next what we're going to do is we're going to use our dodge tool. And I'm going to adjust it the same way I did with my burning tool. And I'll have my hardness set to 0. Maybe about 100 pixels probably be good. Yep. And then I'm going to go to the house layer. So I'm going to switch my layers that I'm on. Click on this house layer. And over here on the right side where the sky is a lot darker, I'm going to do a little bit of dodging. So dodging will help that to lighten up a little bit so it's not such a black corner here. I'll brighten it up a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my clone stamp tool. Yep, so I'm going to set my size about 500 again, and I'm going to set my hardness to 0. And I'm going to come up here a little bit higher on the sky, close to the bottom, but not right on the bottom. Yep, so you got to hold the Alt key and click an area that you want to clone from. So I'm going to come over here to the left side, up a little bit above the edge. Hold Alt, click. This is the area I'm going to copy from. I'll come down over this edge, and I'm going to kind of paint over that edge with this clone stamp, and that's going to hide that hard edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge these two layers together so that it'll become one picture and not be two separate pictures, because we're going to want to do that in order to do the other stuff that we're going to do with this picture. Okay, so while I'm up here on the very top layer, make sure you're on your very top layer. Hold Shift, Alt, Control, and then hit E. Shift, Alt, Control, E. And it's going to create a new layer that's those two pictures together. Yeah, once you've got this new merged layer, you can delete the old pictures because we don't need them anymore, and they'll probably just be in the way. So I'm going to go ahead and delete those two layers. So you can see now when I hide this layer, I can see my pictures underneath, and it's all one single layer. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and name this layer just so I can keep track. Back. Okay, so this layer, this background layer is going to stay on the very top, okay? But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this layer because we need to arrange our characters how we want them to look in this picture. Okay, so something to keep in mind when you are designing is maybe the hierarchy of characters, like who's the most important and maybe who's the least important. So probably the more important the character is, the bigger you're going to maybe put them in your picture, put them bigger, a little more prominent, and the less important the characters become, they're probably going to get smaller and smaller. Okay? So that being the case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Edward, because he's the main character. So I'm going to put him at the very top of my different characters. I'm going to hide these other guys for a second just so we can see what everyone is and where they are. So I'm going to put him up top, a little bit central, because he's going to be the main dude. He's our focal guy. Now I've got his love interest in the story. She's kind of important, but maybe not quite as important. So we're going to maybe put her off to the side, and I'm probably going to shrink her down a little bit. And one thing I maybe will do is, let's take Edward, got him into place. I'm going to take my eraser, and I'm going to erase this background stuff around him. It's okay if you erase a little bit of his hair, but just go around the edge, and we're just going to erase all this old background stuff. Now I've got his lady friend place. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to erase this background area around her. Let's go ahead and move on. So I think what I'm going to do now, we're going to work with this old guy. This is the inventor. He's the one who created Edward. He's kind of important in that he created him, but he's not like super important. But we're going to have him in there just because he's a fun character, and it'll make the picture a little more interesting. And now we've got the bad guy, the villain of the story. And, I mean, he's kind of important, but he's not as important because he's the bad guy. So we're going to diminish him because bad guys don't deserve as much poster space. Yeah. So I'll shrink him down a little bit. So he's going to be the smallest of all these guys. So we'll maybe stick him in the middle a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and erase this area around him. Don't erase his body. We're going to want to see that probably in our picture. But we can erase all this extra stuff around him. Alright, so this picture is a little bit dark. So while I'm still working on this guy, I think what I want to do is I want to brighten it up a little bit. So now that I've gotten rid of some of that surrounding area, I'm going to go up to Image, Adjustment, Brightness and Contrast. I'm going to turn up my brightness a little bit. Maybe turn down the contrast a little bit. So I'm going to turn the brightness up a little bit, turn the contrast down a little bit. So that's going to make him a little brighter and stand out a little bit more. I think I'm going to adjust the brightness and contrast on the inventor, the old guy here. So go Image, Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast. And this picture's a little bright. I might turn it down a little bit. And maybe I might turn my contrast up a little bit. So I'll turn the brightness down a little bit, turn the contrast up a little bit. And I think I'm going to go to this lady, and I'll maybe add some more contrast to her. So we'll go Image, Adjustments, Brightness, and Contrast. And I'll just bump up the contrast a little bit.
Do you want me to turn the brightness down?
Maybe I can turn the brightness down a little bit and turn the contrast up a little bit. What we need to do is make sure we've got everyone placed appropriately and our sizes are good. So if your pictures are all really tiny, you might want to blow them up a little bit because we want these guys to kind of fill in the space a little bit, make like a circle. Once you've got these guys arranged, they look pretty good. We're going to bring back this background image and we're going to start to have these guys start to emerge through the background. So we're going to do this kind of a subtle transition that way. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a mask to this layer. Okay, so bring back your background. And then down at the bottom where you've got the Add Mask option in your Layers window, go ahead and add a mask to this layer. Okay, so if you recall with the mask and you paint with black, white, or gray, it will reveal things to varying degrees. Okay, so just so I can see more clearly where my guys are, I'm going to switch my mode to multiply just so I can see where they're at behind this background. We're going to switch it back in a minute, but just so you can see where they are. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paintbrush, I'm going to set my hardness to 0, and maybe I'll set my size to about 500, I think. Now with my paintbrush set with a hardness of 0, my size around 500, I'm going to take black, because black will reveal, white will hide, and gray will give you something in between. So I'm going to go in the middle of their faces, and I'm going to just make a few little dots here, just so I can see where they are in my picture. Okay, so after you've dotted their face, we're going to switch our mode back to normal. Okay, so now we can see where they are in relation to one another. Now that I see these guys in the background, I feel like I should maybe make them a little bit bigger than how I have them in the picture. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to blow these guys up a little bit. I'll bring back my background. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to reveal their faces to varying degrees. So it's going to start to kind of fade out. So we're going to use variations from black all the way through gray, maybe white if we need to. But we're going to create some value shifts. So some areas will be more visible than others. So you're getting a nice blending of that will make a nice smooth transition. So if you switch your layers, you probably need to make sure when you go back to this layer, to the background layer, that you have your mask selected still. As when you go back here, it might select the picture. Make sure that the mask is selected. Okay? Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use my paintbrush, but I'm going to switch my color from black to gray. And then I'm going to start to reveal a little bit more of their face. And if you use gray, it won't reveal their face completely. And I'm going to start I'm just going to click and circle. So I'm not drawing, just taking little clicks to reveal a little bit more, working my way further and further out around the face. Just revealing a little bit at a time, working my way across, because I don't want too much to show at once. And if I just take a little bit at a time. So the lighter your color is, the less that will show through. So if your color is really dark, it's going to show a lot. If your color is really light, it's going to show a little. So I might use a little bit of a lighter gray. And if you feel like you're starting to show too much, you can always take some white and cover up areas that you're showing too much of. So I think I might want some areas to be a lot more prominent, and I want some of this, I want their faces to kind of fade into the background, but I also want maybe the middle of their faces to really kind of stand out. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to take some black, and I might shrink down my size a little bit, so I don't want it too big. It's maybe about half the size. And maybe through the center of the face, I'm going to have a little bit more of the face show. So maybe where the eyes, down through the nose to the mouth, I'll reveal a little bit more of that with the actual black. So the center of their face will be a lot more visible, but as you get further out from the middle, it's going to start to fade into the background. So we get a nice smooth shifting in how intense or how visible parts of the face are. So you might need to adjust the size of your brush to make that happen. So here on this guy where he's got the gun in his hand, I might make the gun a little more visible and his hand a little more visible. It'll make him a little more menacing. And I think I might want to hide a little bit more of the edges. I think I've got a little too much exposure in some spots. So I'm going to use a lighter gray to hide things. A lighter gray more on the verging of white.